Okay, so welcome to Hubble Basics talk about uh, security and protocol security. We're joined by OtterSec and Ray from OtterSec. So Ray, could you introduce yourself and OtterSec, please?
Yeah, sounds good. Hey guys, I'm Ray from OtterSec. I do PD and marketing, and I met the Hubble guys at Barcelona actually for the Barcelona Hacker House. Yeah, they were super cool people. Had a lot of fun there. Yeah, so I'll share a bit more about like OtterSec. So we're auditing team on Solana, and we've audited like top Solana DeFi protocols, including Solana itself. Yeah, so but we're a very young team, but I think we have worked with quite a few projects. They probably have like if you're big into DeFi, you probably heard about us as well. Yeah.
Cool. So what does OtterSec do?
Yeah. So OtterSec, we do smart contract audits on mostly a Rust based chains. So, for example, like Solana and currently Near, but we're looking into other blockchains as well in the near future.
Okay, so do you guys do security audits?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your auditing process? What is an audit? All right. So, like again, this series it's crypto basics. So I'm coming at you from a point of view of someone who's approaching DeFi, and I hear it's about audits, or I see on maybe like Hubble, we've been audited by a few different protocols or different services. So, what is an audit?
Yeah, so sure. So an audit is essentially a third party view of like your, so example DeFi, like most all of like crypto is based on like smart contract and code, right? And you're essentially an audit is using a third party to view your code and to ensure that it runs the issue and there's no vulnerabilities that can lead to like draining. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are like a third party. You look at so developers write the code, they try and write it as well as they can, but I guess most exploits that we've seen are from very minor mistakes, right? So you guys are looking for minor mistakes. What other things do you look for when you're doing an audit?
Yeah, so I mean humans are fallible, right? So there's bound to be mistakes, and you don't want these mistakes to manifest into a major loss. Yeah, so essentially what we look out for is as an auditing team is that is in the design implementation of the smart contract. So so example like for example an AMM or like AMM or like a lending protocol will have very different infrastructure. So that's where we look at like the design and implementation of the code and make sure that there's no like vulnerabilities or exploits or maybe like a logic error. That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting from a point of view. Like, if you get an audit, it kind of is a social proof that you're not putting malicious code into your own smart contracts, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so
Exactly.
like
So
that's one thing, and then but the other thing is, yeah, you have an extra set of eyes checking that there's not a mistake that's been made in the past, or something that is maybe a security like flaw. Um, so, what kinds of things have you guys found that you can help other projects, fix before they have any kind of exploit?
yeah, so in general, I think we put out like a bit of content on like how we look at code, like from an auditor's point of view, which is pretty good start for like people for beginners looking into like maybe doing like security or like what basic like full guns that um the smart contract like engineers should look out for, which is like pretty good. It's not exactly a all encompassing spectrum of like things that you should look out for, but it's just like easy start to because Rust and Solana has a lot of it's not exactly very friendly because there's a lot of small errors they can make. They can lead to like major mistakes like account validation and such. So it's we put out this content to help engineers and designer basically engineers to better design their protocol to minimize all these smaller errors. Yeah.
Okay, so like could you, yeah, the process of it. So you get the code, then you look at it, and then you give back the report, and then the protocol changes things that you've pointed out, and then you look at it again, and then you give a final certificate. Is that right?
Right. So at the end of each audit, we'll do like a report, which is there'll be a public facing report for people that are looking to. It's kind of like a stamp of approval where you can look at like these are things that we have patched and how they did to patch it, which gives like a validation or like a confidence that this protocol is well audited and therefore you can trust it in a sense. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's move on and let's see. Let's look at. We've got a few audits at Hubble. We've done Arcadia Group, Smart State, and Kudelski, and I guess we have Sec3, which used to be Soteria or Soteria. I have no idea how to pronounce it. What separates you guys? What do you do differently from these other auditing firms, and what kind of differentiates different auditing firms from each other?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So, in general, what I think differentiates OtterSec from like other teams that we work very closely with our teams that we work with. So like even like during post audit, we work closely with the teams to auditing teams can what are these limitations that to auditing and like we can view it, right? So I believe that most protocols should have multiple audits. Example like Hubble. Hubble has a couple of audits already because each auditing team roughly has around 2 guys looking at it. So it's good to have more eyes. And another alternative is that I also recommend there are these like projects where they have the teams can example you want to have a code audited, you can go to these teams and offer up your code as like there's a bug bounty by specifically for these developers who know what to look out for. So it's like an alternative to regular like smart contract auditing.
Yeah, I guess we do have a bug bounty, and that's interesting because it's open to anyone on the market who wants to be a white hat and find the problems and get a reward for that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, what do you think? What's your stance on that? What do you think's like a better way to approach protocol security? Is it auditing? Is it going open source and allowing anyone to look at it? Because even a black hat could look at it and find something to exploit it, or is it a mixture of both? What's your stance on that?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point because there used to be a debate on like open source versus closed source and like how safe is it to be closed source versus being open source. And interestingly, the past four Solana exploits or like hacks were all on closed source projects. I'm not sure whether you know exactly which one are these for, but that kind of put me in the like a thinking process like maybe closed source isn't that secure after all, and like there isn't much debate on like whether closed source can really protect your project anymore. So I always recommend teams to get audited by multiple teams and also put out a bug bounty. It's kind of like providing different avenues for white hats and people that are looking for people that are specialized in security to have a avenue to reach out to the team so that they in the case of an exploit they can actually reach out to the team versus going down the other route. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it's hard to get away with stealing versus
Yeah.
doing the right thing and saying, hey, like, here's a problem and getting a reward for it.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard to get away with when you're working with like centralized exchanges. Yeah, it's really hard to off ramp and stuff.
Yeah, we also just saw this last couple of months, the huge Bitcoin hack. Like they finally moved some of the Bitcoin, and we were delighted to find this rap video from this couple. I mean, it was years and years after they exploited one of the
Oh wow,
exchanges.
that sounds familiar. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the stuff goes away. Like the chain is rather immutable, but also even things like Tornado Cash, which are also the news. Like apparently, there's ways that you can unscramble like a scrambled uh, transaction. So it kind of pays to just help out and play the game in a
Yeah,
nice way.
exactly.
Yeah, cooperation. That's like the end goal of all of this, right? So you mentioned before, yeah, there was a couple Solana hacks recently. Let's take a look at them. This Casio was one that happened in March. So what happened with Casio?
Yeah, Casio. I think Casio is probably the most well documented Solana hack. Probably the most well documented in the media because it was a pretty big deal. Yeah, so Casio, in essence, is a infinite meaning issue because there was a lack of validation with a few accounts as well as depositor source. So essentially, what they did was that they without these checks, that it allowed them to deposit their worthless collateral to act as like actually, and the contract thinks that it's actually worth something, which resulted in them minting a shit ton of actually good the cash and using this to get back the LP, the saver swap LP, which in turn help them drain out the LP, the liquidity pools.
And in the end, it's the users who kind of suffer from this, right? Because I mean, DeFi is kind of a peer-to-peer network of people working together. So it's the protocol facilitating everything, but it's people like you and me who participate and lose their funds.
Exactly, and Casio was kind of like a turning point where people or Solana really realized that okay, we really need to get our projects audited and not to really trust these unaudited projects anymore.
Right,
This was a major
Casio
turning
wasn't
point.
audited at all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess if you're putting on 11 different personas and trying to code that much, uh, you should maybe
Yeah,
get a third party to look at it.
that's
Uh,
a very good point.
yeah, a lot going on there, but yeah, auditing seems to be um, the best route for all things. All right, let's look at the next one. Crema, was Crema audited?
Yes, Crema was audited by your closed source.
So tell us about Crema.
Yeah, so in essence, Crema is a CLMM, so it's a concentrated liquidity market maker. So essentially, how they did it was that they created a fake tick account, which and allowed them to manipulate the so like doing a flash loan and manipulating these tick accounts, yeah, allowed them to manipulate how much they were supposed to receive in LP for doing the fees for doing the LP, and therefore they drain I think it was like 8 million or something like that. Yeah, which was a crazy amount. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that wasn't me. I don't know if someone else came in.
Oh yeah,
No. Yeah, 8 million. It's a lot. I mean, by terms of what we've seen in DeFi exploits, it's like 8 million. It seems like a jaded low amount, but
I mean 8 million on Solana is a lot, right?
yeah, it
Not
is.
trying to, yeah.
Also, they were doing massive volume against like low TVL, so it was like a highly used and like highly routed. Like if you use like Jupiter aggregator, a lot of things are going through Crema. So
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good
it
to
was a
know.
great utility. I mean, yeah, lots of different trades that I put through would like end up being routed through Crema. So it's unfortunate that happened. I guess they're making a comeback. But so for example, like a team just got exploited. They had a an audit, I mean, what's the next thing they could do? They improve the security.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question because I mean, like after you exploit it, it's you're kind of going through like a lot of thought processes at one time. Like I'm pretty sure most of these teams that they have worked for a really long time just lost a lot in maybe a span of few hours, which can be really traumatic actually. Because you're not just affecting just your own funds, but you're actually affecting a lot of people's funds. So yeah, but besides that, the more rational thing would be to track down these funds, track down where these funds are moving, which I think most teams that got hacked recently did very well with, because they were super responsive when they got the time to. And yeah, so there's not much you can really do about it. But I think the best way is to track these funds and to if there's a and to stop any more loss of funds if there's still any.
I mean, here, like, yeah, it seems Kramer made a deal, right? So they
Yeah,
essentially turned a black hat, gray hat.
yeah.
Uh,
So
uh, is
they
that?
offered the hacker 80%, and
Mhm.
sorry, they offered the hacker 20% of the funds, and they got back 80%, which they were then I think it was refunded to the this LPs. Yeah,
Well, that's a happier ending than it just
yeah,
looks like.
demos. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now here one more. Oh, so this one was terrifying. This is a OtterSec thread about the recent wallet exploit. Can you walk people through what happened?
Mm. This exploit was kind of weird because I think it's one of the longest hack that we worked on. For those that don't know, we are working with Slope on this. So it essentially at the start we didn't know what was causing this exploit because we were getting a lot of different stories, a lot of different narratives being thrown around on Twitter. So it was really tough to it was tough to get through all the noise pollution of what was actually the cause. So what they did was that they created like a spreadsheet to figure out any similarities between that they noticed between all the drain wallets, and eventually we figured out that it was all pointing to one wallet, which was Slope. So those users that got drained from like Phantom was because they imported the Slope mnemonics, and essentially all these wallets had went through Slope at one point of time, and the reason is because Slope was um, storing these the mnemonics on these locks, these sentry locks, and we're not really sure what exactly was the full story, but they basically get access to these mnemonics, and that's how they did the drain. And interestingly, I think it was a pretty manual process because they're doing it very slowly. If anyone would remember like exactly the timeline.
It was about 60 wallets on average a minute.
Yeah, that's pretty slow actually.
Yeah,
I,
like I think they could have just automated it. It seemed like a terrorist attack, right? Like so that people could see it happen over this period of time.
yeah,
Uh,
that's actually a good point. Like, because they're doing it on 4 wallets at a time, which is around 15 wallets a minute, which is I think is still pretty slow. Yeah, so I think there was some psychological stuff there regarding this exploit.
and how can a user protect themselves against something like this?
Um, well, I users I think the best start would be to do your I mean like that's what everyone recommends, right? So it's always to do your own due diligence, to look into the project, look into the team. You obviously must trust the team before you can trust what they're building, right? So look at the team, look at the if it's open source, look at the code, I guess. For those that are more like technical, but for non-technical, you should look at only like battle tested projects. Um, for example, you wouldn't want to work with, or you wouldn't put your money into like a brand new project as opposed to something like I don't know if I should put names, but like older projects, I guess. Yeah, in the space. So it's always to do your own due diligence and to research before putting your money, and always to diversify. So you don't really want to put all your money onto one bag, right? Onto one DeFi protocol. It's always good to put it around onto DeFi protocols that have sound logic and actually where the yield is coming from.
Okay. Yeah, diversifying is always, I guess, a good idea. Never put your eggs in one basket. Um, what do you think about a hardware wallet? Is that going to solve everything?
You know what? I think a hardware wallet would be good for most beginners because it's a very more it's more, how do I say, it's a more, when you're using like hardware wallet, you're using, it's not just clicking a button, right? You're actually using your hands, lifting and looking at the transaction and then pressing it to approve it. So I guess it's a sense, it's a form of due diligence, and you can teach like new users that okay, um you have a sense of responsibility, I guess, when you're using your own funds.
Yeah. Real quick, like maybe explain to people, how does a hardware wallet work differently from maybe just your, what we call a hot wallet, like Phantom or
Yeah.
MetaMask?
Oh yeah, sorry, give me a sec. Okay, so essentially a hot wallet is something that's connected to the web, and cold wallet is something that is physical. So example of a cold wallet would be a Trezor or a Ledger. So the difference is that on these cold wallets, that's where your private keys are stored. So and it never leaves this cold wallet. So and every time you have to approve a transaction, it has to go through these cold wallets before. It has to go through these cold wallets and before being approved. So, for example, when you have a transaction on a hot wallet, you go to the wallet. Everything will happen within that wallet. Whereas on a cold wallet, the transaction will be sent to the ledger and you'll be approved there, and you'll be sent back to the to be finalized. Yeah. So there's a lot more. So in this sense, these private keys are stored safely, and it's never connected to the web, so you can it's very difficult to exploit.
Yeah, if you can disconnect it from the web, then I mean that's a huge advantage versus it being constantly connected to the entire world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we have an article that we wrote recently about DeFi protocol security, what to check, things like audits and exploits. I think we've covered a lot of it in here. Like if you really want to take security seriously and participate in DeFi, make sure that the protocols you're depositing with have been audited. Is there other advice that you would give to people who are looking for the best way to improve their security when looking at protocols? Like, so one way as a person, you can use a hardware wallet. That's your individual, like due diligence. But how do you make sure that other protocols that you're working with uh, are doing due diligence?
Oh, sorry, is this from a user point of view or is it from a protocol point of view?
From protocol, yeah. Like, so if you're giving advice to someone new to DeFi, like what things should they look for when they're like shopping around at different protocols and they want to participate?
Yeah, I think that there's a for for beginners, I think it's a good start would be like it's very easy to understand these protocols. Some examples would be like a lending protocol and a lending borrowing protocol where you know exactly where the yield is coming from, and versus compared to a more technical DeFi protocol like options and exotic options. These are I will not recommend this for beginners because it's a lot more technical, and you have to read the docs to understand what are the benefits and what are the limitations of these DeFi protocols, and to go at their own pace. So um, it's always a learning process in crypto. So um, you can take your time, slowly understand it, make sure you fully understand it before jumping in, and to always diversify your bags.
Yeah, definitely spending some time to figure things out. I like the phrase like learn how the sausage is made. Uh, that's definitely it. So I'm gonna ask you another question, but first I'm gonna ask if the community has any questions. So if you have any questions, like please type it in the chat, and we will try and get them answered by our security expert who's visiting us right now. So my next question is: we've talked a lot about exploits, bad actors working like against the kind of bugs in a smart contract, but there's times when a protocol could be the bad actor, and we call that a rug pull. So, what is a rug pull, and how can you maybe identify a rug pull? How can you avoid rug pulls?
Yeah. So a rug pull, I think I categorize rug pulls into two distinct subsets. So you have a soft rug versus a hard rug. So a soft rug would be like a project not really doing much, not really I guess updating, not really working on anything new, versus the project the hard rug. So as an example would be like Solana, where they just drain out the entire lot of funds. So it's always good to know whenever something is too good to be true, which is when something is too good to be true, it's kind of like a bad sign. And if you add it up with like a few other, you look at other facts as well, like where the team is docs, what are the team's backgrounds, what are the team's track record, what have they worked on prior. I think those are very good indicators of like a rug pull. Like I think some of these are like applicable in NFTs as well. Like it's important to know like what are the track records of the founders as well as what they're working on. So to get a gauge of how whether they are actually a rug pull versus a hard rug or a slow rug.
So, again, can you just clarify the difference? So, like, one of them, like, let me get this right. It's when they can take your funds, so they put it in the code, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but an audit should find that, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's right. I think most auditing teams will find it.
So, if a protocol is not audited, there's a chance that they could do that.
I mean, in essence, by not being audited, you're basically saying that there's no there's no what do you call it? Like an alternative opinion, like a third party viewing your contracts. So you don't have this stamp of approval that someone else outside the team has viewed this contract and deemed that it's safe for users, and there's no foot guns, there's no intentional exploits left behind.
They
Other
call it like a
teams.
backdoor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a backdoor. Yes, yeah, exactly. A backdoor.
All right, and then the other one is just a project that's made to make a token expensive at one point, and then they just sell other tokens.
Mm.
Uh,
Is this regarding soft rock or?
yeah, so like if you essentially take an interest in a certain project, like you've decided to yield farm them, or you've got their tokens, and it's supposed to be a legitimate project that lasts a long time, but I guess the founders can just sell their tokens very quickly and drain the decentralized exchange of all the liquidity, like just taking USDC out and leaving behind worthless tokens.
Yeah, in this case, I think that a good idea would be looking at this is a good point actually to look at the token emissions and tokenomics. So tokenomics could probably give a good idea of when tokens are vested and cliff and are vested, and yeah, it's all part of like due diligence in general. And tokenomics is like probably one of the core. If you want to look at DeFi protocols, the tokenomics is the core piece that you should look at to get the idea of like what the project values, as well as when it's getting invested, to get a good idea of like who has the selling power.
So what's like a bad sign when you look at tokenomics?
I'm not a tokenomics expert, but I find it weird when a lot is given a huge chunk of it is prioritized to the team founder and team. I'm not sure how many projects are there that does this, but I think it's kind of weird. for the team to take a significant chunk of the tokenomics versus maybe token emissions and like liquidity mining. Yeah, that's something that I probably look out for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Like if it's just way too high, it doesn't make sense. It's, again, DeFi is a cooperative, participatory financial system, and if the protocol is hoarding most of the tokens, then it's not really building value. So
Exactly, and especially when these tokens are sort of marketed as a governance token, which as to more reasons as to why these tokens should be more decentralized, more diversified, and given out to in this case will be best for token emissions.
yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense if it's supposed to be decentralized and one party has most of them. So and it's the people who made the code. Uh, not a good sign. All right. Let's see. We have some questions coming in. Oh, somebody mentioned devs praising or promoting their token is a red flag. Do you agree with that?
Um, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think like I mean at Hubble we're kind of just look like people come into the chat all the time like why HBB going down? It's like all right, well, who knows? The market just makes its own decisions. Like we're worried about it. The worry about USDH. Like worry about like the fundamentals of the project working, not the token. So I think if a token's shilling or if a project's shilling their token, then yeah, maybe there's something going on. Then
Yeah,
it's a meme. You know, all meme tokens are is essentially the power of marketing and having a token. There's no real technology behind it or any kind of value other than the fact that it's a token that everyone attributes value to. And it seems like unless that's your final goal, if you're saying your goal is to do one thing, but the token's more important, then uh, those goals are not aligning.
yeah. I mean, most tokens are like based on speculation, right? But versus AI, it's a good point that uh, you should more emphasis should be placed on, example, USDH, collateralized stablecoins, where there's a lot more technical backing behind it, more reasoning, the peg stability mechanism. Yeah, that should be a bigger focus for people getting to DeFi as opposed to governance tokens and speculation.
Yeah, I think like look at Apple, like when the iPhone came out. Like so they honestly were a bit shady. Like they didn't have a real iPhone to present, but Steve Jobs went out and he had like six different versions of an iPhone that did different things because and he had to do like kind of like magic sleight of hand to change which one he was holding just because it would constantly crash. They didn't perfect it yet, but they were like, "This is the product we have." You know, he wasn't out saying like, "Go buy Apple stock. We're gonna be the biggest company in the world."
Yeah,
He's like, "This is the phone that we made, and it's really cool. Look what it does." You know, promote the product, not like your asset or something that is connected in like a different financial way. So yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of a red flag. All right, we got another question. Considering the closed sourceness of programs on Solana, how should users trust a new protocol without being able to do their own due diligence on the code?
oh yeah, I mean, there's quite a big debate on closed source versus open source. I mean, you're looking at like I guess I'll put a name on is Tulip. Tulip is a closed source, but it has been around for, I think, like way before I even joined like DeFi. They've been around, so I consider this to be like better tested DeFi protocols. So yeah, I'm not really sure how you can do due diligence on like a closed source code. But yeah, in that case, I think I'll look at more of the team and the people building it rather than the code itself.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, there's definitely like some social media or like you can actually go into Discord chats now and really just dig in. Although we do get some jokers coming into our Discord, and
So,
if they don't like the answer they get, they're immediately like, "Oh, this is a rug," and it's like, "What?"
do you got an example for that? I'm kind of curious now.
No, I mean, I've got a few. They come in and they come out. I don't know what their deal is. Either they're overly cautious. I don't know why, but like, or some of them are just coming to instigate and just be trolls. Um, but yeah, it's quite frustrating to engage with people like that. And it's like, why do you think we're a rug? Like, how many people are here talking to you? And like, I don't know. Like I mean, in Barcelona, how amazing was that? You know, you get to meet all these people and see how many great things are being built, but real faces. You know, and
Yeah,
I wish everyone could kind of
I
see.
can vouch for that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I can
everyone
vouch for
could. I
that.
wish
Yeah.
everyone could see that, and like maybe more in real life events like would help with that because I don't know. It's a nice kind of thing that we're participating in. We're very early in this kind of scene, and it's a small amount of people, but we're like a growing community, and everyone's participating from all over the world. And if you can go to like some event and actually like talk with the people as they're building and things, I guess that's one thing. And if you can't do that, you can go in social media, and if you stick around long enough, you're going to be like, well, these people are actually building, or these people are they're not really they're not here for the right reasons.
Totally agree. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's try and get one more in here. Oh, this one. Do we just rely on trusting audits? What do you think? Can we rely on trusting audits?
Mm, yeah.
It's a hard question to put at you because you're an auditing firm, but like, can users just say, "Oh, this protocol's been audited, so it must be okay"?
Okay. So, I believe that auditing is not obviously not a end all be all for hacks because there are still protocols that get hacked after getting audited. Obviously, so um, you can rely on audits, but only to a certain extent of how much you can risk. So I believe that if you can trust your audit, but if you really you want to be here for a long time, you really need to diversify uh your 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 money on like different protocols that are audited, so as to I mean some like super good yield, right? But like you don't really want to put all your money into one place. And well, auditing is good, but I think a good idea would be to look at which protocols are doing things besides getting audited. So offering a bug bounty program would be nice. Um, Working closely with the community. I think these are all like good additions to having just been audited.
Liquidity. Can you explain that then? Like, liquidity is a word that we use a lot in DeFi. Again, this is hopefully something that could benefit like a beginner, and we can take some information from here. But like, what do you mean by checking liquidity?
Checking liquidity. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, what do you mean by like checking liquidity?
Um,
Is
you
that one
mean
of the
like
things
for
you said? Like,
within
so yeah, if you want to do more due diligence, looking at liquidity is something important.
um, looking at liquidity as in like how much TVL is that what you mean?
I guess TVL is one thing, but like, how liquid an asset is in terms of like, is it easy to?
Oh, I got you mean. Yeah. So um, is you mean liquidity regarding in regards to security or just in general?
I guess it's part of security because it feeds into whether a project's a rug pull. Um, if there's really an opportunity for um, somebody to just take all the liquidity out? I've wondered about this because liquidity is like one thing that a lot of people looked at with like yield farming and things like that. Maybe in the height of like the bull market, and I'm wondering what metric do you look at to try and tell? Oh, well, this might rug, this might not. Like who supplied the liquidity, or if that you can check that on chain actually, but is there any kind of like red flags? Yeah, is there any metrics that like you can look at like, oh wow, like the liquidity is essentially not okay?
I don't think liquidity really plays much into like security. Because when I say liquidity, I'm thinking of like liquidity pools, and I don't really see like the connection between liquidity and security in general. I had to think about it actually. Yeah.
I'm just looking at it from like the rug point of view. Like, oh well, this isn't working, so here we go. All right. Anyways, off on a tangent there. I think we've pretty much covered a lot. And would you like to add anything else that you think people should know about checking protocols for security and making sure that they're on top of their DeFi game?
Oh, sorry. I'm just looking at the question by Speedy here. So, yeah. So Drachma had an audit, but obviously Rock anyways. So Dev can do an audit and use other code. Yeah, that's a good point actually. So, this is a good point of like whether you should use open source code, because you can look at in our audit codes. In our audit reports, we say exactly which commit we have audited, as well as which pull request we have done. So if you can like cross check between the commit that was implemented as well as the commit that was based on the audit report, it's a good sign that that they use other code, which is example we adding on or taking away code. Yeah, which I think is pretty rare, but it's a good good point on due diligence anyways.
Wait, can you explain that again then? So if you want to do like your own research and figure out whether or not the code that is audited is still the same, what would you do?
Yeah, so when you look at the GitHub of these projects, normally the projects that we audited, they'll post their audit report as well. I mean, our audit report on their GitHub. So we will audit report which commit we have audited, as well as which pull request we have pushed up. So if you can cross check between these as well as the programs that they have done, it's a good sign that these projects are using the code that actually been audited. But we work closely with the team that we audit as well. So I think it's a pretty rare possibility that the team will not use their audited code or add in anything else without telling us. Yeah. I hope that answers your questions.
Is there like is there an easy way to like to double check though? That like maybe a pull request has come out after an audit, or what would you look for specifically?
I guess you can look at like from maybe a non-technical user will have a really hard time moving around like GitHub, because I mean, I'm one of them, so I have a tougher time going around understanding these the technical terms. But I think it's just doing like cross checking between like most teams will publicly make the audit report public, so you can just check across which commit was done and where was the latest commit, as well as any pull requests that were made recently.
Okay, so just double check everything, triple check everything.
Yeah, if you're putting a lot of money, you should really check.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe can I ask one more question before we go then?
Yeah, of course.
What do you do?
Yeah. So I do BD and marketing. I'm more on the front end side of OtterSec. So we have auditors and also have the guys doing more of fun stuff like sales, BD, marketing, as well as a founder. Yeah.
Cool. So like you're spreading the word about security.
Exactly.
All right. We need a lot of word spread about it. Um, Thank you so much for joining us. It was really a pleasure talking with you. Uh,
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
yeah. If there's is there anything else you want to add?
Um. Yeah. Actually. Yeah. I really like the Hubble team. I met them in person. I think they're really cool guys.
Awesome, dude. Thank you. I don't know if we met. I don't think. Were you at the event that we had after? It
Was
was.
it was it Hilton or?
Yeah. It was the.
Yeah, I was there. I was there.
Yeah. It was so many people to meet. I don't know if we managed to sync up, but I guess in future Solana events we'll definitely say hey, what's up.
Yeah. Wait, are you coming to Singapore for the Hacker House?
I'm in the area, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah,
know if you're coming down.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Let's wrap this up and have a good night. And to everyone
Yeah.
else on the other side of the world, have a good day.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Peace.